Hello and welcome everyone. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you just how it is that fearful avoidants tend to sabotage their romantic relationships and kind of why this actually happens. But first, if you are new here, my name is Marcella. I'm an attachment coach. I was trained by Tice Gibson in the Personal Development School. I have a bachelor's degree and I've been studying the field of personal development and the subconscious mind for the past 5 years now. In today's video, I'm going to be giving you 3 ways that fearful avoidants tend to sabotage their romantic relationships, why this happens, and at the end, a couple key principles on what you can actually do to heal. This is gonna be a really good video for anyone who is dating a fearful avoidant, or if you're a fearful avoidant yourself and you're wanting to understand your attachment patterns. So key point number 1 is going to be that fearful avoidants tend to have a lot of core wounds. And so when you have core wounds, you can kind of think of them as being a bomb in a minefield, just waiting for somebody to kind of like step on them and they go off, right? And so for fearful avoidants, some of their biggest core wounds tend to be things like I am or will be betrayed, I'm not being considered, or I don't matter, I am unworthy of love, I am not good enough, I am unseen or unheard or misunderstood, right? And there are so many more, but I'm just going to share with you an example of how we actually obtain these core wounds in the first place and how they cause you as a fearful avoidant to sabotage your romantic relationships. So, you gain your core wounds, right, through repetition plus emotion. This is how we are imprinted. This is how we gain our programming and our attachment style. We go through repetitive experiences that are laced with some kind of emotion, and this is how we get imprinted. And so our core wounds are pretty much repetitive experiences that happen that are laced with negative emotion, right? And so let's say for the trust core wound that you go through repetitive experiences throughout your life of times that you felt betrayed. And this can be real or perceived betrayal. And what I mean by this is like betrayal doesn't only mean that you're being cheated on, right? It can be something like your caregiver yelling at you when you go to them for something that you need or really want, or you're having a hard time or you're crying and they yell at you. And in that moment, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm being betrayed. You make that mean you're being betrayed. Or maybe you do get into a romantic relationship and somebody does cheat on you, right? Or step outside that connection. And that is a real betrayal, right? So it can be these real or perceived betrayals. And so repetitive times of you going through this, what happens is that your brain stores every time that you felt betrayed or not good enough or unworthy into one little filing cabinet. So let's say we have betrayed, like I'm being betrayed, I'm not good enough, I'm unworthy, right? So every time I'm feeling not good enough or unworthy, it's all being stored these times into their little filing cabinet. And the interesting part is that every single memory is stored with emotion attached. So let's say you have the betrayal core wound, and here's your filing cabinet, right? And you're going through life and something happens that your brain perceives as a betrayal or potential betrayal. This could be like you have this betrayal core wound that is built up several times through repetitive experiences. It's stored here. Your brain just trying to keep you safe. So it's looking out for the threats. And so let's say one day your partner is running late from work and your brain might go, oh my goodness, this feels like I could potentially be betrayed. So your brain talks to your subconscious mind and it goes, what do we know about being betrayed? And your brain goes and it basically opens up this filing cabinet and it floods all of that information to the surface of every time you felt betrayed in the past. And this is how a core wound works. And remember, there's memory and emotion attached. So every time you felt betrayed with that emotion attached, floods to the surface all at once, which is why you can feel a 10 out of 10 triggered over certain things that you might consciously look at and be like, that wasn't that big of a deal though, but it's because your brain has a lot of stored emotional pain around that. Same thing for feeling not good enough or unworthy, right? This is how core wounds work. So anything that happens in your now basically acts as a catalyst to touch on these core wounds, and all of that information floods to the surface. But let's just use, like, if you have all these core wounds, right, and you're constantly having the ability to be triggered, which as a fearful avoidant, you probably know that you get triggered all of the time or very often. Like, well, what's happening when you feel triggered, right? When you're having all these thoughts that get activated, you're having all this negative emotion come up anytime someone makes you feel unloved or not good enough, or like you might be betrayed, or like you're gonna be abandoned, like they're gonna leave me. Like, what's happening in that moment is you're getting all this extreme emotion, and then what actions are you taking? You might notice that you're like avoiding your partner, or you're starting fights, or you're creating chaos, or maybe you're rebelling and going to do your own thing because you're taking whatever is happening very personally, because your brain and body is basically having this survivalistic response to it because it wants to keep you safe. It's really just doing its job. But the thing is it's acting as if these things are like really a threat to your survival as a human being, even if there's no big threat now. It's just stored painful emotion that has been like unresolved for some time that needs to be worked through so that you're not constantly being triggered, you're not constantly activating or deactivating in your relationship, causing fights, pushing people away, right? Because that's how the cycle continues for fearful avoidance, excuse me, I'm like getting ahead of myself, sabotaging their love in their romantic relationships. And point number 2 is that fearful avoidants tend to have this push-pull dynamic in their relationship. I know this can be so confusing and frustrating to so many, but it's like fearful avoidants, we tend to have grown up in environments where love was a source of connection and it felt really good, but it also could have been a source of pain. So let's say you had a caregiver who was struggling with addiction, and sometimes they were really nice and really loving, and other days they were yelling at you and pushing you away. So you came to believe that people that you love are going to hurt you eventually. So there's always this sense of like, if I connect to someone too deeply, like you might notice in your romantic relationships, if I connect to someone too deeply, it's kind of like they have that much power over me. Why do I want to give all my power away? Because they're going to hurt me eventually. I just don't know when, but I know that I feel this background sense of doom coming. I just need to keep my eyes open. So when I'm feeling like a little disconnected, or like maybe my partner didn't call me this morning like he usually does, or maybe he canceled a plan that we had because he had something important going on and I didn't really understand it, but I perceived it as like something weird is going on. So I connect with this person very deeply, and then when little things pop up, I want to deactivate and disconnect because I feel like, oh, there it is. I knew it. So it's this push, pull, hot and cold that fearful avoidants tend to go through in their relationship. And these dynamics very much sabotage connection over time, because people who are on the receiving end of the fearful avoidance love, this is very confusing. It's like, I didn't even do anything wrong, right? Is what we hear a lot of the times. Like, I don't understand. Like, I was busy at work, so I didn't call them, or like something important came up, so I couldn't make it. And fearful avoidants to like go to these extremes, and they're like, nope, this person's disconnecting, they're pulling away. I knew it. They're leaving me, or they're gonna betray me, or they're interested in someone else. And they swing in these hot and cold dynamics all of the time, and this sabotages love more than you know. And point number 3 is going to be fearful avoidants have a lot of enmeshment trauma. So enmeshment trauma is the fact that we, because I'm a fearful avoidant myself, are pretty much healing or healed now, but we grew up in environments where we felt responsible for other people. We took on the emotions of other people. Maybe you were somebody, if you are a fearful avoidant, who had to look out for people in your home, maybe your caregiver or your siblings at an early age. You felt like you really wanted to save the people that were around you if they were struggling. You felt like you really wanted to caretake, to be there. You felt like you wanted just to make everyone happy, right? You felt responsible for them. And with this comes this belief that I'm responsible for how other people feel, and they're responsible for how I feel. So fearful avoidance in their romantic relationship, they have this belief that I'm responsible for your happiness and you're responsible for my happiness. And fearful avoidance, they tend to have a hypervigilance as part of their attachment strategy. Like they're tuned into everyone, like hyper attuned to every little thing they notice, what they like, what they don't like. They're very attuned to their partner. And so they tend to want to show up very well and really give and pour into their partner and make them happy, right? They're like, I'm going to make them happy. I'm going to show up perfectly. I'm going to show up well. And part of this is this subconscious belief that fearful avoidants have around having to earn their worth, like constantly do to earn their worth, but keeping back on track with the enmeshment trauma. Like, I'm responsible for how you feel, your happiness, you're responsible for me. You're always pouring into your partner, and then you're waiting for them to do the same. You think that they should be as you are. If I pay attention, that's because I care and I love you, and I'm tuned into you and I see what you like and I'm paying attention. You should be doing that for me too. And you should also be like looking out for me and like saying, hey, what do you need? Hey, let me do this for you. Hey, let me take you out here. Let me do this. And the moment that your partner doesn't, you feel completely taken advantage of, and you might like freak out and blow up and like have a freak out moment, right? Because you give, and then you want your partner to show up for you, and then finally something tips you overboard, and then you blow up because you've been doing for so long, and then your partner is like, what is going on? I thought you were doing all this stuff because you loved me. I didn't even know. If you want something, just tell me, right? And then you feel guilty because you blew up on them because you're expecting things and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. And then you go back to giving, and you keep on repeating this cycle until you get a handle on what is actually going on and learn how to communicate your needs in a healthy way. So what can we actually do about this? Well, for your core wounds, right? The point number one, when we talked about core wounds, all the bombs in the minefield just waiting to go off, like you're constantly being triggered. What you can actually do is when you're feeling triggered, I want you to get into this mode of being able to question your stories. Be able to question your stories and say, like, what am I making this mean? If my partner doesn't call me back, what am I making this mean? Am I making it mean they are cheating on me? That they're doing something sneaky? What meaning am I giving to it in that moment? Then ask yourself, can I know for 100% without a shadow of a doubt that this is true? The short answer is no. We never know what is going on. So no, you don't. And then I want you to ask, what else could it be other than the meaning that I'm giving to it? Well, maybe they got busy, or maybe they're just working, or maybe they forgot, right? Because their mind is just everywhere. Maybe they're stressed out, or maybe they got an important phone call. Whatever it is, find 3 pieces of things that it could be other than the meaning you gave to it. And what you're doing by this is you're bringing your perception back into balance, because as fearful avoidants, we can tend to think worst case scenario a lot of the times. We can cause ourselves all this extreme emotion. We catastrophize things in our brain and we act as if they are true, when really a lot of the time they aren't. So I want you to start questioning your stories all of the time if you can. Number 2, for the push-pull dynamic, right? I want you to also do the same thing when you notice yourself pulling away from your partner because you're feeling unsafe or deactivating. Like, ask yourself, like, what is going on with me right now? And then like maybe check in and see, what am I needing right now to feel better? Like, what would actually make me feel better right now? Get in touch with your need. Maybe like your partner disconnected from you for a while and you're needing to feel connected again. And then find a strategy to problem solve on behalf of this. What is a healthy and direct way to get this strategy met? Maybe I can ask my partner, hey, can we go to the movies tonight? Hey, can we go have dinner tonight? Can we go do a hike tomorrow? Can we go to the coffee shop? Whatever that is, just find a healthy and direct strategy to meet your need, whatever you're needing, because I promise you this will feel so much better than deactivating and like running away. Because basically it's like the way you handle things now, it's like you want to hug but you're running in the opposite direction. So I want you to want to hug and run in the right direction so that you can actually find a strategy that works for the long haul. And point number 3, For the enmeshment trauma piece, this has a lot to do with like your needs, right? If you feel that someone's responsible for your needs and you want them to mind read, I want you to first become aware that nobody is a mind reader. And in fact, you have to show up and communicate on behalf of your needs all of the time. A very good strategy to get in touch with your needs is to journal at least every other day. Every day, if you can, really, but at the end of your day, check in with yourself and say, okay, where did I feel off today? And then I want you to write it down. Maybe I felt off at lunchtime because I was needing like a break, or maybe I was feeling off today when I got off work because I was feeling overwhelmed because I had to cook and clean and I really needed somebody to help me out. Where did I feel off today? And write all those things down. And then I want you to ask yourself, what did I need in that situation? So maybe like if I was overwhelmed after work, like I had all these tasks to complete, I needed some support from other people in the house. That's what I really needed. That would have been ideal. I need somebody to like take some of this load because I can't do it on my own and I'm feeling overwhelmed. And then I want you to take that information and be proactive next time instead of reactive. So now you know, hey, I know this about myself, that I get overwhelmed when I come home and like there's dishes in the sink and I still have to cook dinner, whatever. I need to ask somebody for help. I need to ask somebody. And a lot of the times fearful avoidants have these limiting beliefs like, I shouldn't need help. I shouldn't have to ask anybody. I'm going to be a burden. I'm bad if I need that. No, you're not. You're not. Just know that that's limiting beliefs and remind yourself, I can ask for help. I'm a human being. I don't have to do it all by myself. So I hope this makes sense, fearful avoidance. Be kind to yourself. I am sending you so much love. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. God bless.